This talk is about what is the meaning of this idea of self-improvement. When we think of improving ourselves, what are we improving? And what is this self? So earlier I said, I have carried this practice of asking the great question, what am I, since as long as I can remember, certainly since my teenage years. And I've got some earlier memories of wondering of what the nature of reality is. Is it really just what I see and feel and think in front of me? Or is it something bigger, something deeper? So I'm going to wind my way into this question. I want to tell a little story. And I've mentioned some of this, so some of you might have heard this, but early, probably in the spring, two bald eagles moved into the cemetery where I walk. I live very close to a cemetery, and for about 35 years, I've wound my way up into the hills in this cemetery, and you get to the top of the hill and you just look out over the entire bay. You can see as far as beyond the Richmond Bridge to the north, and sometimes I wonder if I can see the Dunbarton Bridge to the south. So we're talking about a 50-mile expanse view. It's a lovely, lovely place. And maybe because it's a cemetery, it's very quiet. There's a lot of people around, but they don't make much noise. So this family of bald eagles moved in. Well, actually, a pair of bald eagles moved in early spring. And they do what they do in the springtime. And they built this amazing nest in a tree. And suddenly, I mean, I didn't know what was going on, but I started to notice people were hanging out in this one area of the cemetery. And I watched for about a month, and all these people had these telescopic lenses, and they're looking. I didn't know what they're looking at. Of course, finally I asked, and I can be a little shy sometimes, and I mind my own business, but I was curious, and suddenly I began to find out that these two bald eagles had, ultimately, they had two chicks. I found out they're called eaglets, and all summer long has been this spectacle of the eagles and the eaglets in the cemetery. And every weekend, I go up to see the eagles. And one day I'm sitting there thinking, well, I haven't really seen the eaglets. I have this little headstone that I sit on. Sheridan sometimes with me, we sit together on the headstone and we look. And we didn't know if we were seeing anything. And then suddenly we hear this click, 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 click sound. And one of the eaglets sticks its head up from the nest, and it just goes out and flies. And it flies like right above us. And this is after we've been tracking the adult ones, and people are out looking at them and talking. And in watching the eagles, I had this kind of simple thought. I said, for us humans, we're watching what we think of this amazing spectacle. I mean, I've seen a few bald eagles over the course of my life, but never this intimately and this close. And then I realized for the bald eagles, they're just being eagles. This isn't amazing at all. This is just what they do. The human mind makes it into something special. Each thing in and of itself is just as it is. But our thinking mind makes distinctions about amazing or commonplace, long or short, all of the adjectives that we add to things which are just as they are. And then about 2 weeks ago, people have started to fall away a little bit. They're harder to spot the eagles now. They're out hunting a lot of the time. It seems like this latest time period, what I've been told is that the adult parents are teaching the eaglets how to hunt. And that's the last thing they have to do until the eaglets can fly the nest. So we don't see them as often. They're out. We don't know where they are. So about 2 weeks ago, I went up and I looked up at this tree, and there's the eaglet just sitting there. And I said, hello. I might have bowed to it. And then I left. It's like it's become commonplace. So what was once this incredible, amazing thing to watch, it's a little stretch to say that it's become boring, but it's become commonplace enough that I had other things to do. I went up there, I saw it, I left, no big deal. So it went from this incredible thing to no big deal. The eagles didn't change. The only thing that changed was my mind. And that's the essence of our practice, I think, right there. If I notice that it's my mind that makes it either amazing or commonplace, then my mind is making everything, because likes and dislikes are kind of the way we interact with the world. And those likes and dislikes, those ideas, beliefs, desires, all that stuff are the realm of thinking. And maybe we can say that self is actually a creation of thinking. Jeff, the name we give to this being, everybody here and everybody online has a different idea about Jeff. And I have different ideas daily about Jeff. So who's Jeff? We think we know ourselves, but who is it that we know? So when we start to think about this idea of self-improvement, you have to wonder, who is it or what is it that we're improving? Because we're not even sure that we exist the way we think we exist. It's all made up by our thinking. So who is there to improve? And how would I even know what improvement was? Because I'm the one who's deciding. You have a different idea. You may decide, if you just slow down a little bit, you'll be a better person. I might decide, if I just speed up a little bit, I'll be a better person. But what's better and what's worse? Who is it that's being improved? You know, basic Buddhism begins with the teaching of no self. And when you dig into the teaching of no self a little bit, what you find is that it's talking about there's no fixed abiding self. Self appears and disappears in this very moment. We think Jeff this afternoon is the same as Jeff tonight speaking to you. But is that really true? I mean, if you lengthen the time period, is Jeff at age 9 the same as Jeff at age 72? Who is it? How did Jeff get from here to there? And does anybody really know? We all have ideas. Certainly, I judge myself, and I am imagining that each one of you judges me constantly. But who are you judging? Are you judging me? Or are you judging yourself? Who do you think you see when you create Jeff in front of you? Are you really creating something real? Or are you creating your fantasy, your idea of what I am? And, our basic practice is asking this great question, what am I? I've been doing this basic practice for over 50 years. I don't have an answer. It's not that we're looking to answer the question as much as we're looking to explode the concept so that just now there can be life. I want to say I can be alive, but I don't even know who that is. But this moment does appear. And whatever you call this, how is this going to meet this moment and respond? That's the playing field of our Zen practice. I wasn't there, but it's been reported to me that there's a quote from Suzuki Roshi that I want to share here. And apparently there was a moment where he said to his students, he said, "You're all perfect just as you are. And you could use a little improvement." Both and the particularity of this moment and the absolute before thinking quality of our life experience. Our thinking minds get so locked into opposites thinking where everything's in competition. It's either this or it's that. But our teaching really is that it's both and. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is form, emptiness is emptiness. Same and different. Same and different. Fundamentally the same, but as this moment appears, difference appears. When I was in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City in the year 2000, and there were, I don't want to exaggerate too much, but 100 different tour companies. They all had the same tour. And one company had a motto, and their motto was same, but different. Yeah, maybe that's all of us. Same, but different. It's not same or different. It's same and different. We each have the same root. We're each part of this immense whole. WHOLE. And at the same time, each one of us is distinctly ourselves. There are 7 billion, maybe we're up to 8 billion humans now. Each one unique, and yet each one made up of the exact same substance. We all are made up with you could say we're all made up of stardust. Without the exploding stars, there would be no us. Where do we come from? We each carry this human DNA. Each of us have different genes, but they're all genes. They're just different depending on conditions. I read somewhere that for each one of us to be alive, that means we come from, I'm guesstimating the number, but 50,000 successful generations. In order for us to be alive, 2 humans had to come together, share their genetic material, and create the next generation. And that's human success. And that had to go on generation after generation after generation after generation for us to be sitting here tonight wondering, what am I? There's a Zen koan that says, what is your face before your parents were born? Who are you before your parents were born? Your parents had parents. Their parents had their parents. We're all carrying the lineage of, I'm making the number up, but 50,000 generations. Without them, there would not be us. So what am I? And how do I find my way in this world? Our teaching of, we call it before thinking mind. Zen Master Bon Soeng would call it primary point, don't know mind, before thinking. He had a lot of names for it. And then he'd always say, you may call it God, you could call it Buddha, you could call it Dharma, you could call it energy, you could call it consciousness. Those are all names. Name for what? We don't know. If we know it, we and name it, we make it into an object and we restrict it. In the Jewish religion, you're never allowed to say the name of God, because if you name God, you make it into an object with limits. What is it that's before limits, before name, and before form? In our tradition, some Zen master would just shout. Some other Zen master just stuck up one finger. But to call it one finger already makes it into something. Before you make it, what is this? That's the essence of our Zen practice. So, one Zen teacher that I heard, he talked about awakening before thinking, and then the work of character development. I think there are some words in Japanese or Chinese, and I don't know the words. But we wake up, we have this experience. Oh, I'm not that. Don't know. Then what do we do with it? Jack Kornfield's book said, after the ecstasy, the laundry. What do we do with it? If there's any sense of self-improvement, it's how do we take this awakening of not knowing and translate that into something that helps this world? That takes development. That's trial and error. That's causality. I make a mistake with somebody. I hurt their feelings, let's say, or I grab for something that I want without recognizing the damage I might be doing when I grab that. What do I do with that experience? How do I turn my everyday experience into wisdom? How do I acknowledge what it is that actually happened? Because I'll speak for myself, but I imagine it's true for all of us here. Often our first reaction is to be defensive. I didn't do that. No, that didn't happen. You did it. We defend, we block, we pretend in order to make ourselves feel okay, to not lose faith in ourselves. But what would it be like to hear the criticism and to be curious about it? Could it be possible to say, oh, from your experience, I did that. What is that? What does that say about my behavior? Can I look at it rather than from a defensive posture, trying to prove you wrong, and move into a sense of possibility. Oh, I didn't realize that. Maybe I can take a look and look deeply. We have this question, what am I, as the base of our practice. So if you criticize me, yeah, maybe my first tendency is to push you away, say, oh, you always do that. That's your fault. But can I stop and say, maybe, and take a look? And not see myself as some fixed object that needs to be defended, but to use the curiosity and wonder of our not knowing mind to work on it, to discover what it is that I don't see, because my idea of me blocks out what isn't included. And we humans have this, I keep saying it, this defensive quality to keep ourselves good enough. And maybe we have to do that because people get hurt quite a bit by other people. And we do need to have a strong sense of who we are, or a sense of self. But there's a possibility as a practitioner to hold things gently and to use the curiosity and wonder of our not knowing to actually explore ourselves and see the points that we haven't seen before. And you can call that self-improvement if you like. For me, I think I would rather call it waking up. Not allowing my limitations, and we all have it, we're all built out of the conditions of our life. And if we truly know that and have a moment where we wake up and we realize we're so much bigger, so much more than our concepts and limitations, then use that awareness to find a way to be better able to be alive, present, and helpful in this world. Can I meet the moment in a way that both acknowledges and respects my beliefs and ideas, and also be curious enough to recognize that just because I believe it doesn't mean it's true? We've talked a little bit about this summer too. Can I hold passionately to my political, social, societal beliefs, and at the same time recognize that I don't know and I might be wrong? Or even more gently to say, there's more experience or information that can help me see more clearly. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Each of us are trying to find our way. And if we use our practice in a way that really does cultivate this opening, this sense of, oh, I'm not who I think I am. That's a doorway that opens, and freedom is possible. The challenge is, for most of us, the door closes really fast, and we fall back into our prison of our self-concept. So our practice needs to be constantly pushing at the doors, recognizing that I don't know, really owning that as a place to begin. And that beginning is the doorway not only to our liberation, but to the possibility of being helpful to all the beings, both seen and not seen, that are around us. That's what we call the Bodhisattva way. And the Bodhisattva way is fueled by our not knowing. And the Bodhisattva way is killed, is ended by our certainty and our knowing. We cannot be helpful if we're stuck in our own certainty. Ultimately, it's in service of our fantasy, of what we believe, rather than the openness of the experience of just now, of being able to listen, smell, taste, touch, and feel, that gives us the data and the information we need to know how to help. If we go into a situation knowing how to help, we're most likely going to mess things up. But if we go into a situation with the kind of humbleness of not knowing, then we can allow the moment to teach us. And then the truth appears right in front of us. It's always right here for us. We have to be open enough to let it in.